slash science of building houses, cabinets, furniture, basically anything to do with wood and construction. And carpentry dates, I believe, from around, I want to say 13,000 BC, and that's when it originated to go from all of that to now. It's changed in terms of the tools and the trade itself. And why carpentry is important is, well, we're all in a building right now, and that was built via carpentry. And with that, that's how most buildings are built. And same with cabinets and furniture. Now, what does it take to build a house to completion? Well, first, let's get into what my mentor taught me. He taught me dress code, which is not a full suit. You would not want to show up to a job site in a full suit, because it's limited mobility, you're not in proper shoes, and with that, you're going to have a harder time trying to do basic things. And the first thing after dress code, as soon as I actually got onto the job site, was the first thing he taught me was proper planning. His exact words were, proper planning leads to great production. Improper planning leads to poor production. And that day we ended up running into a problem of not having that proper planning, and we ended up having to take a door off its hinges in order to get an old stove out that door. He also talked on the way up to the job site pros and cons of self-employment. And he talked about it because he's self-employed, and some of the pros of self-employment is that in a way you set your own schedule, and you set where you work, when you work, how much in a day you work. But one of the cons is an old employee would be able to just go home after a day of work and be able to de-stress. Whereas being self-employed, you have to go home, you have to do paperwork, and you have to make sure everything is legal and legitimate, and that way you don't have to run into any legal problems there. So, let's get into the tools of carpentry. You got hand tools, like the hammer, saw, and mostly any measuring things, like measuring tapes and T-squares. You got power tools, nail gun, power saw, angle grinder, which is something else entirely, but it still comes into play. There are pros and cons to using each. Pros of hand tools is they're typically quieter than power tools, and they're also usually more maneuverable. However, it does take more time to use them, and it also takes up more energy. Whereas with power tools, you can get the framing, like a whole wall of framing, done a lot sooner than if you used hammer and nail. And a power saw would cut through wood pretty much like butter. But with that, there comes more safety. Is whenever you handle a saw, you're going to want eye protection, and you're going to want to make sure you keep your fingers away from the blade. That's how you lose them really quickly. And they're also a lot louder than hand tools. Now, the process. Where to start? So when you start a project, you're going to want to actually get a lay of the land, what needs to be done, and what materials are needed. And once you're able to get that, then you're able to go into the actual construction. So if you're doing renovation, you have to worry about, keeping the house actually stable while working on it. But if you're doing from the ground up construction, you don't have to worry about that as much. You can just get into framing once you have all the blueprints set and what needs to be done. And the time frame of that can range. If it's renovation work, if it's small renovations, won't take a whole lot of time. But if it's a larger renovation project, it can take like a year to more. And if it's from the ground up, then like a couple of years, depending on how big the building is. Some techniques. So when you go to do the framing of said buildings, you're going to want to do it in a way that is stable. So when you put weight on it, it doesn't collapse like a house of cards. So there's cross bracing, which is up there. You do that in order to have more structural integrity of the wall of the building itself, and that way, like I said, it doesn't collapse. And then as you get farther down, you want to do finishing work on some of the wood of what's more shown. That way, if you sand it and then like paint it, it comes out pretty smooth. Or you can varnish it so that way it'll protect it from the sun or heat or just about anything. So there are a couple of types of wood. Two main types I'm going over is hardwood and softwood. Hardwood is, as it's stated, is a harder wood and thus is typically more sturdy. However, it does take longer to grow in a forest. So, whereas like a softwood tree is a little less sturdy, but is still usable, that doesn't take as long to grow. So if you ever get like hardwood, it comes from an old growth forest, whereas softwood is a new growth forest. And softwood is usually more sustainable than hardwood because it doesn't take as long to regrow. And because of that, you'll usually see that in framing. It's still sturdy enough for framework, because if it wasn't, it wouldn't be used. But it's still used so that way it's a little cheaper, more sustainable, and usually easier to work with, but that also depends on what tools you're using. So the types of projects. There's residential, there's commercial, there's cabinets and furniture. When you do residential work, it's, well, a house or apartments, whereas commercial is more like office buildings and stuff like that. Cabinets, furniture is pretty self-explanatory. So, conclusion. There have been a lot of technological advancements in construction, but it still remains an essential trade for building and renovating structures. With the use of modern tools and technology, carpenters are now able to build with greater precision and efficiency, making the work faster, and more accurate. Despite these advancements, the importance of skilled craftsmanship and attention to detail remains as important as ever in the world of carpentry. We're excited. There's 2 slides of that. So, yeah, that is everything. Questions, comments, concerns?
What were some of the projects you were able to work on?
So I was only able to work on one project. It is a house up somewhere in Craftsbury. I don't know exactly where. I know how to get to it, I just don't know the street address. And it was renovation work, so we had to work with hydraulics to make sure that the house doesn't collapse on us as we're tearing out part of the basement and putting up new framework. So that was interesting.
Who was your mentor?
Sean Allen. Sorry, I meant to say that earlier, but Sean Allen was my mentor, and he is a good one at that too.
So do you see carpentry potentially in the future?
I do, honestly. I've given it thought of going to a trade school for carpentry, mainly because I like working with my hands, and I also like looking back at what I did over the day and actually being able to see it.
And you mentioned that Sean went over the pros and cons of self-employment or working for someone, you know, and I'm wondering, you know, when you think about the challenges of either, which route do you think is better fit for you?
Well, I don't really know, because I've only been an employee, I haven't been self-employed, so I can't really speak to the experience of both, so it's not necessarily fair to say. Go ahead, sir.
If you were gonna choose a school of carpentry to go into, which one would it be out of the three that you mentioned?
Probably residential. That way I'm not building up too high.
Right.
I'm not fond of heights. Let's just put it that way. So being able to do residential carpentry would be easier for me.
Do you have a favorite tool?
Well, that depends on the job, usually. Mostly no. Although I do like swinging a hammer, that is fun.
Did you have a nickname for any of your tools?
Uh,
Well, I've got a big nail gun called Bam Bam, so.
that's fair. The hammer I used, I didn't really name it. I just, oh, that's a hammer I need to use, so I just go and grab it.
Did you ever lose your tape measure?
Well, his dad taught him to have 2 tape measures. One where you're cutting and one where you're measuring.
Yeah, I did learn that. I did learn that from my
Many,
dad.
many a times he went back and said, "Dad, you forgot to measure again over here." I'd have them both in the same spot.
But yes, I have forgotten where my tape measure was, and I had to spend like almost half an hour looking for it. Ended up being in my pocket. That was the worst part. Was it was in my pocket.
Those of us who laugh have been there, well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody's done it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a rite of passage.
Any other questions?
But something that you really learned from Sean, like a skill that you learned from him.
Precision. Because if you aren't precise, your house is gonna end up crooked. And that is not something you want to do. And with that, precision not only applies to carpentry itself, but also applies to the real world. And, well, I should say the world as a whole. Because the more precise you are, usually the better off you are.
Is there anything that you can think of that you're excited to work on as a project?
I can't really name anything off the top of my head, but I'm sure as I go down the road there will probably be things I look forward to doing.
Well,
Great
thank
job,
you.
Will.
Thanks.
And that completes our presentations for tonight. Good job, Will.
Oh, that's a 9.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was fine. I was like, mine was words. That's what I said.
9 minutes.
No, you don't. I do. You don't. I do.
You excited to turn it into tonight?
Not about it.
Ready to get
Don't mind me. Quick.
That's usually a mom's line. I'm sorry about it. I cried today. Happy birthday to you.
Yeah, happy birthday.
you guys, thank you so much for coming in, you did a great job, and, yeah, you are free to go.
Cool.
You did well. And now you can all be like, look at Will, he's smiling really big. Because you asked him about project skating, I'm thinking to myself, he's finishing something that's a big project, and I'm sure he's happy.
Example of that.
That's 4 cars over?
No,
Right,
that's
so like you can't.
port one here.
It's right up.
Yeah, he's not wrong about
That,
that.
and then,
But
no,
it's
I'm gonna
mostly
throw
the
this stuff
age
in here and then we'll start it.
Although,
That should be good.
the gym, thank you.
Buildings are a
They
living,
don't talk about burgers.
buildings are a living thing. They move and shift and the earth.
Unfortunately.
Oh, shoot.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Tectonic.
That's fair.
But I don't want
Good,
to.
right?
Every year.
What's it makes loud noises?
Is, CC2. Oh, boy.
I already thought mine was
I'm off.
Do you need it?
Not a good place.
School tomorrow, of course, but then after that, when were you thinking? Just right after?
I can text you, but right after school, you can probably meet Jake's if you want.
Alright.
I'll be there. I've got all these one more areas.
I got dirty. Yeah, I just gotta slick this stuff. Other than that, I think
That's in there.
surprisingly.
See you later, Mom.
See ya.
Didn't have very many facts to support.
Oh, wow, you went good on this one.
I think I started out a little too hard to soften up.
Oh. That'll happen. Yeah, I didn't see any paraphrasing quotes. But he did use MLA.
At the very end, I didn't see like him have it in there. Where would
But he
it
does have really fun, I think.
And you read one of the, there was a specific thing that you read.
What was it on? I forget.
he did it.
It was a slide, I think the word.
Alright, so let's do it, let's do it. Alright, EB implemented to 91, so let's do a 2 there. Let's do 2 there, alright. I gave him a 4, I think he did really well with the icon guy. Yeah, you don't mind doing this is
Actually,
how.
I was looking for it, cause I was gonna, the experience in the tire, I was looking for it over here, I couldn't find it.
You wanna know why? It's cause it goes over to here. I don't, yeah, it is not like
So yeah, I would've, yeah, no.
the voice.
How heavy is that thing?
It's
Go put it on, Mr. Garcia.
Put it on.
here, actually. Here, just hold it.
Alright, I'll grab it.
You did a 4, I did a 4.
It's got
Let me see this thing.
fairly full, not
Three.
completely full.
Ooh, it's a lot heavier than I thought.
Yeah, that's the carbon fiber one.
Wow. it is
Alright.
Yeah.
Pretty cool, Aiden.
Alright, so there we go. I'm not putting the checks on this one, so let's go
Is that the
to.
final?
Yeah, that's fine.
It's not the final. Wait.
It's right fine.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hold on one second. This is what we were using for the final. Where did you put checks on? This one?
Well, I think that yours were the same as Jeremiah's or mine, so I think yours.
I'll just put it on it.
Alright.
What? I'm sorry.
I'm gone.
Good job, Aiden.
Thank you.
Were you a little intimidated with Jeremiah as a judge?
It was surprising at first, but
I'm biased in the right direction though.
Yeah. And kudos.
Thank you so much, Aiden, have a nice night.
Thank you, you too. Alright, we said the 10th of July for this one though.
Yeah.
Sorry for that. Okay, then,
So you came and judged these a while ago, right?
Yeah, back, I think, Darren Strong and.
Oh, so it
a couple
wasn't
others.
that long ago, that was like 2 or 3, so the caliber's kind of the same.
Yeah,
I'm wondering, is it or no?
yeah, pretty similar.
It is.
I don't know.
Now we're on Aiden, yeah, you ready?
Yeah, how long of a process is it, like, what's the process for them?
So usually towards the end of their junior year, they have to submit a proposal. Either end of junior year, beginning of the senior year, and so it's like a formal letter of what they want to study, and then we accept it or reject it. And then they have to work with someone, get a mentor reading the form, work with someone, 15 hours learning, and then they have to do 15-page paper that has like
Okay, so it's only 15 hours of,
15 hours of time working
Yeah.
with a mentor. But that's separate from their paper. Their paper
Yeah.
has to be answering your essential question.
yeah,
You know, there's all these timelines throughout the year where they have to, like, the 15 hours is due by like November, and then their paper is due in January, and then they work on the presentation or something like that, so. It's a year long.
Yeah. Yeah, I think some of them probably just have more interest in, you know, because 15 hours isn't very long, I know.
It isn't.
Some of the past, you know, people worked for a whole year on,
They already
Something,
did on a
you know.
small house.
right, or, yeah, and someone else built like a, I think a gun cabinet or
Yeah,
something.
Aiden, my son did that, Aiden Gabara.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you know who else did is Adam Allen did that, I think, but that was a long time ago. You know who Adam Allen
Yeah,
is?
Yes, no, it was probably someone in between those areas.
Yeah, I don't know. All right, so let's go to Aiden. Do you have his? All right, perfect.
Yeah.
So what did you say for organization?
3.
3. What did you put? Oh, we're all at 3. All right.
3 for the next.
Content 3. I put 3. What did you put?
3.
You did? Okay. Evidence. I was low here. What did you put?
Well, I mean, it's probably the same as Pat, no?
Okay, let's do 2. I didn't notice, like, because usually sometimes they, like, in their presentation, they'll have quotes or something like that.
Yeah.
I didn't
Well, it
see that.
seemed like they all had a very similar structure, you know, so I don't know if that was what they were all aiming for as far as just having the work cited and,
Yeah.
or if there was a little more push to maybe include
Well, so they're,
things that they didn't.
yeah, so they're given this rubric, and they're,
Yeah.
aren't they given exemplars? Maybe not the presentations, I don't think so, so.
Alright, and it grew.
Anyway. Integration, what did you did 4, I did 1, holy crap, all right, what did you put for integration with Aiden? You put, okay, yeah, I was too harsh here, all right.
What did you get? What?
Jeremiah gave him a 3,
Let's go up 3.
let's go 3, yeah. He did make a comment about the picture, right? It doesn't feel like there was a lot of, maybe there was, about his field experience within the scope of like,
Well, I think
No,
the,
it wasn't
stuff
related.
now.
the personal experience and relevant connections are more like, you know, specifically the engagement in the community and stuff like that. That was like,
Yeah,
there's a pretty direct connection, I think.
yeah, that's true. So 3, we're gonna go 3 there, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Technology, I put a 3, you did a 2?
Let's go 3. I put, I
Yeah, the
personally, whenever he
visuals.
has visuals and they bring
I
in
think they all did the same thing. Well, yeah, but I mean, so it was hard because he brought stuff, but as far as technology,
Yeah.
you know, I think they were all pretty similar, you know, looks like they used the same exact format.
So physical
I have
expression and
3 on mine.
attire.
Went 3 on the next.
I had 3, that changed to
I
4.
struggled with this one because it talks about eye contact, and he looked a lot at his computer.
Yeah.
If I look at his physical expression and appearance, I'm like,
Yeah,
yeah,
he
it was
didn't really do
good,
that.
but it was,
Right, I
did you
probably
notice
got
he
2
struggled
for
with the
that.
eye contact?
Well, I think when he was speaking, he was looking at me,
He was
But-
looking at you, you are right.
but then, yeah, then there's times where he was, you know, trying to get caught back up or whatever, which is a little bit different, you know, that's just
So
part
let's
of,
do a 3
part of the
there, let's do a
process.
3 there. I mean,
just because he wasn't looking at you.
he was looking down at his computer.
Yeah, but I feel like that was not when he was talking, though, like two separate things. One's when you're talking and one's when you're.
No, he was looking
So,
at
in
his
terms of,
audience, yes, he wasn't.
An overall presentation, there probably wasn't as much, but,
Right.
but while he was talking. Because I
Right.
think some people do read, you know,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like he was engaging while he was talking, but he did take the extra time to figure out what he
Mm-hmm.
was
Yeah.
looking for.
All right, so we're gonna do a 3 with that one, right?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, so voice, what did you put for voice? You did 3, you did 3, I did 2, why don't we go with? You know, I would like to say on his practice one, he used a lot, and he didn't. He
Yeah.
practiced, and he worked on it, so that was good. Grammar, 3, 3, and I put 4 for that one, wow.
He spelled extrication wrong.
Oh, okay, there we go, I did not pick up on that, you actually read the slides?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, okay, yeah, let's do 3. And then the time, he definitely had a 4. And that's it, we're good, awesome. Did you wanna keep these, you want me to just? You're gonna keep the masters, and then just not to confuse you, I'll take the
Nice.
ones that are masters off.
That's what, you want it?
Alright, or I can take them in a second,
I got it. I'll take yours.
Those are.
These are ones I brought.
You look at you, you came
So
prepared.
prepared.
Well, I only had 2 because I ran out of ink.
Did Mr. Foster
Want me
give
to
you a
throw those out
thank you
for you?
card?
Huh?
We'll throw those out.
Recycle them, yeah, we'll recycle them.
Yeah. A wax seal one.
Yeah, he likes his thank you cards.
Yeah, look at that. I didn't know.
Did you get a thank you card?
I had to ask who it was, though, 'cause I couldn't quite read his name,
Alright.
Wow.
but it makes sense.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much
Yeah,
for
you're
coming in, I appreciate it, we appreciate it. You definitely made some of our students sweat a little bit.
Especially Caleb. Yeah.
It was funny.
Yeah, when he said chief, he said, yeah, he's like.
Yeah, I don't know, but you guys must work together a little bit,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you work with him?
I see, well, John and his wife quite a bit.
Oh, his parents.
Yeah.
So do you have a lot of stuff lined up in carpentry this summer?
Oh, yeah, a couple of years worth.
Oh, really? That's what everyone says, they say
Yeah.
they're backlog big time. Which is a good thing, right? Are you like a one-man show kind of?
Yeah, I've got some help hiring on in June. Harry and I help each other with stuff.
Oh, you and Harry Miller work together?
Sometimes.
That's interesting. How does that go?
It's fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he can be a little spacey sometimes, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm used to him, so
Yeah,
we know what to expect from each other.
yeah. So you're working for a lot of people in the community?
Yeah, I mean, I used to, but as the projects get bigger, you just
Yeah.
kind of get buried. But yeah,
Yeah.
I used to be the one that ran around and did everything for everybody, and now I just have to say no to everybody.
Yeah.
It's kind of too bad, because that was, one of the reasons I got into doing that was to be able to do a bunch of stuff for neighbors.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I got I don't know if you knew this, but anyway, I built that house right on King Farm Road.
I know everything.
You do? That's right, I came in, the quit claim deed, oh my god, that was such a headache. Anyway, but I was really lucky, cause I was able to get Paul Cutting, who
Yep.
actually Harry knows, I don't know if you know Paul.
I know his name, yeah.
Yeah, anyway, so they came in and, they did the structure and then, we worked together on the insulation and then they did the sheetrock, so then I could finish it off. But it was just getting him, I felt really lucky.
Yeah, and there's people that are been waiting for a couple of years, to get projects
Yeah,
done.
yeah. It was a whirlwind, that's for sure, yeah. Anyway,
And probably a stressful time to boot.